No Man's Sky on the Nintendo Switch 1 was pretty janky, and some might even call it broken. It was playable, and you could get your No Man's Sky fix, but it wasn't everything people wanted out of a handheld experience. That is, until today. With my Switch 2, I'm in space. What the heck? What's this guy doing here? With the Nintendo Switch 2 version, the question is, how does it run? Should you buy it? And is it really that much better than the Switch 1? Let's find out. But I should mention, I know I normally don't do these solo game reviews on games that aren't Nintendo games, at least recently, but I genuinely really wanted to talk about this version of the game in a full separate video. Also, Hello Games, the developers of No Man's Sky, agreed to sponsor this video and told me to be completely genuine and make an honest review. And so I'm doing that. So we're gonna test just how broken No Man's Sky is on the Switch 2 in space. That's so cool. You can find out more information about the game in the description. I gotta say it, but let's get started and play the Switch 2 version of this game. Now, I'm no Man's Sky rookie. I did a video on it back when it released on the Switch 1 in 2022, back when I wasn't great at writing videos, and maybe even a little bit thinner. Regardless, I actually liked the game on Switch 1, even with its quirks like the 30 frames per second, low resolution, and those non-existent textures. But hey, I'll give credit where credit's due. It was still an impressive port of a game this massive and graphically ambitious. You could do everything the game had to offer on the Switch 1, just at a much lower quality. The only major thing missing was multiplayer. And even though the game was released on the Switch 1 and I did have it, it didn't quite hook me like I expected it to. Not because of the game itself, but because the Switch 1 was just weak. Thankfully, we're done with the Switch 1 version now. I've already thrown my Switch 1 into this space, and I will never see it return. Look, there it goes. Bye, Switch 1. Goodbye. But that's fine, because now we got the Switch 2 version. No Man's Sky is one of those games that feels like it's been around forever, and that's because it kind of has. It originally launched back in 2019, and the team behind it has been praised for not just listening to feedback, but actually doing something about it. They're still cranking out updates to this day. They should call up Nintendo and tell them how to do it. The Switch 2 version really seems to be the full portable version of No Man's Sky we've all been waiting for. One of the best things about it before you even start playing is that even though this is technically a brand new Switch 2 edition, if you already own the Switch 1 version, even this version that I found on the floor, on the moon, even if you have it physically, the Nintendo Switch 2 edition is free. You don't have to pay any more. Most games that have a Switch 2 edition usually cost a little bit extra, even including Nintendo's first-party games. But Hello Games just gave it to us for free, which I really appreciate. No Man's Sky is an exploration and survival game set in a procedurally generated universe, and this universe is massive. I seriously have no idea how the Switch 1 could even handle this. What the heck? The game begins with you on a random planet simply trying to get off. The goal is simple: fix your ship and go to different planets. And that's exactly what I did. For the first little while, it makes you do a tutorial to try and teach you the massive amount of mechanics the game has to offer. And I've already been playing this for a long time, and there's still things I haven't even learned yet. But the deeper I play, the more I learn. I keep learning. And that's not a bad thing at all. The amount of content in this game will keep you busy, honestly, forever. You get tools to collect resources on planets you visit, starting with a mining laser. Look at him go. Oh yeah, I should probably mention, the guy that I'm playing as, he's got a little name. Space Glazer! That's right, Space Glazer spends most of his time blasting rocks and grabbing stuff like oxygen, sodium, potassium, basically a whole grocery list of space elements. And these resources aren't just for show. They're what keep you moving forward. You'll need them for things like fueling your ship, upgrading your gear, and most importantly, staying alive. See, your suit has a built-in protection system that keeps Space Glazer kicking, but every planet throws different hazards at you. Land on a freezing planet and your thermal protection drains. Step onto a toxic world and your hazard protection melts away. If you don't keep those systems charged with the resources you've gathered, Space Glazer isn't just uncomfortable, he's cooked. Like literally, he's gonna die from being cooked. And we don't want Space Glazer to die, we like him. Everyone spam, we love Space Glazer. At first I thought this regenerating mechanic might be a little bit annoying, but it ended up being what pushed me to actually explore. Needing those resources gives you a reason to keep moving, scanning, and gathering. And over time it makes the survival loop way more fun than I expected. It's essentially like keeping your hunger in Minecraft. I related it to Minecraft so that it's understandable to everyone. I like Minecraft. Oh my gosh, is that Steve? Steve from Smash Bros? What is he doing here? I guess it's space. I shouldn't be surprised. There's also this underlying story running throughout the game. It doesn't force you into it, but it's there to guide you through some of the mechanics, and it's mysterious enough that it's worth paying attention to if you like piecing things together. Like why in the world I'm in space in the first place. I literally can't breathe. But what really kept me hooked is upgrading. Space Glazer and I both love upgrading. Pretty much everything you use can be improved. Your ship can be upgraded to fly faster, hit harder in combat, and tank more damage, while your tools, like the trusty mining beam, can be leveled up to cut through tougher materials and just feel way more powerful and do things faster. Upgrading your gear just feels rewarding, and it keeps you chasing that next upgrade. There's also these space stations where you can talk to people, and hey, even upgrade how Space Glazer looks himself. I gave him a cape. And like I've said, there are just so many mechanics in this game, like base building. What? Naturally, I set up my base on what I call the peak. Now you might be wondering, what is the peak? Well, that's the first place I landed, because once I discover a planet, I can rename the whole thing. I can rename planets now? Is that even legal? I didn't even file any paperwork. I'm literally the only one that has discovered the peak. I called it home instantly. Something about it just felt right. Once you fix your ship at the beginning of the game, you can head out and start discovering other planets. When you find one, you set up shop, name it, or just, hit it and split it. A classic Space Glazer move. But why bother hopping planets at all? Well, like I mentioned, certain resources can only be found on certain planets. Each one you visit has its own set of materials, and some are way more generous than others. What blows my mind is how wildly different these planets are from each other. One of the major gameplay elements of No Man's Sky is exploration, and it makes sense because each planet is procedurally generated, meaning no two are the same. And it's not just the terrain that changes, it's everything. The weather, the shape of the land, the foliage, the animals, the atmosphere, literally everything. I never once found a planet that felt like a copy-paste of another. What really sells the vibe is how seamless you go from walking on the ground to flying into space. You just hop on your ship, blast off, and suddenly you're in orbit. No load screens, no brakes, you can just go. On top of that, the game leans into the mystery of it all. You'll stumble onto alien ruins, strange monuments, bizarre artifacts, and wildlife that just looks really weird. So I hit it with my mining beam. It's just what I do. Some planets feel bursting with life and color, and others feel dead silent and empty. And that constant shift in tone keeps things very refreshing. If I get sick of a planet, I'll just leave. I wish I could do that here. Oh wait, I did. Once again, I'm not on Earth. I still can't breathe. Pair that with the ambient soundtrack, the weather effects, and the game's visual style. It's very impressive that they got these vast worlds all on this handheld device. Now, one feature the Switch 1 version just flat out didn't have was multiplayer. As I mentioned, it just didn't exist. It couldn't. On Switch 2 though, No Man's Sky finally includes the full online play. You can squad up with up to 4 players, explore planets, build bases, trade items, and run missions together. I mostly played solo, but I could tell this would be a blast with friends. If only I had any. The Switch 2 release also adds cross-play and cross-save, so if you want to take your save from PC or another console and keep playing on the go, you finally can. And yes, voice chat and game chat are in. Check it out, I even brought my Nintendo Switch 2 camera into space. I brought it into space, just in case. But all right, I think it's time. I think it's time we talk about graphics, don't you think? I think he agrees. Because this is what really makes the Switch 2 version stand out, especially compared to the Switch 1 version. The Switch 1 was stuck at around 720p, but now on Switch 2, it's running at 1440p docked and a crisp 1080p handheld. On top of that, the system's upscaling tech helps sharpen everything. I don't really understand it fully, but it looks good. One of the biggest differences though is the frame rate. The Switch 1 barely hit 30 frames per second, and even then it dipped constantly. The Switch 2 version has an uncapped frame rate that pushes it up to 60 frames per second. Realistically, it hovers around 40 and bounces a lot between 30 and 60, but the fact that this option even exists is rare for a Switch 2 game. And all the footage that I've captured and I'm showing is uncapped, because I like the smoother look. Sue me. But if you prefer a locked 30 frames per second, that's an option too. Either way, the game feels way more premium in motion than it ever did on the Switch 1. On top of that, textures, foliage, lighting, shadows, everything just looks so much better. And the fact that this is running on a handheld is genuinely impressive. And speaking of handheld, honestly, this is where I think No Man's Sky actually shines. I'm not gonna lie. It's just one of those games you can pick up and play for a bit. Jump onto a planet, poke around, and then set it down. I actually played this in bed, and it was kind of perfect. In fact, calming in a way. The replayability here is basically endless. There's actually always something new waiting. I still can't believe how every planet is so different. This is definitely hands down the best version of the game in my opinion. You can play it on PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, the Switch 1 as I've mentioned obviously, and now the Switch 2. Once again, all the links in the description, but this is absolutely the best way to play handheld. Unlike some other handheld PCs, which you gotta fiddle around with it a lot just to kind of get it running, this is just optimized and it works right out of the box. Hello Games have been updating this game game for years, and given their track record, I have no doubt they'll keep at it for years to come. It's one of those games that you can like come back to after a year, and then there's just a whole bunch of new things that they've added. Like, sponsorship aside, this game is actually a must-have. I recommend it. And it's not because they're paying me to say that, I promise. No Man's Sky on Switch 2, it's a must-have. I literally bought it and played it before they reached out to me, and I was going to make it a video, so okay, you gotta do it. Once again, click all the links in the description below to find out more information about No Man's Sky, and huge thanks to Hello Games for sponsoring this video. I actually don't know how I'm gonna get home. Okay then. Here I go. Have you played No Man's Sky on the Nintendo Switch? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. And hey, consider becoming a channel member to get your name here and videos early. Consider liking and subscribing, and also let me know if you like this solo game review style. Maybe I'll do it again for other games, sponsored or not. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. See you later.